Hey, you there, my dear viewers?
I sat down to watch Dan Wootton's latest Outspoken episode expecting the usual royal roundup. What I got instead was a gut punch that still hasn't left me. The title alone stopped me cold, scared of her. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry used children in blackmail threat against King Charles. Sitting across from royal biographer Angela Levin, Wooten laid out claims that feel less like gossip and more like a slow motion family tragedy playing out in real time. The core allegation is devastating in its simplicity. According to the discussion, Meghan Markle has allegedly positioned Prince Harry and their two children, Archie and Lilibet, as leverage in an ongoing power struggle with King Charles, Prince William, and Catherine. The children are reportedly being kept away from their grandfather and the UK not purely for the oft cited security reasons, but as part of a broader strategy to maintain pressure on the royal family. Harry is said to be returning to Britain alone next month for Invictus Games events, while Meghan and the children stay behind in California. The message Levin suggested is clear. Access to the grandchildren comes with conditions. Hearing Levin say the words hit differently. She described Harry as scared of her. Not angry, not defiant, scared. The man who once stepped back from royal duties to protect his family now appears in this telling to be operating under the same controlling dynamic he claimed to escape. He does what she wants, even when it means further isolating himself from the only family he has ever known. That single observation reframed everything for me. The timing makes the claims even more pointed. While the working royals were carrying out centuries old traditions, trooping the collar, the garter ceremony, the Sussexes were reportedly flooding social media with carefully curated images of cozy games nights and family barbecues in Montecito. It's the same playbook we've seen for years. Create your own spotlight so the real royal events look smaller by comparison. Wotton called it vomiting every tiny piece of information about their sad little lives. Levin didn't disagree. Then there was the NBA finals detail. Harry apparently seated behind other celebrities rather than beside them. According to the conversation, Meghan noticed. She sees these things as status messages, messages about how the world still views her husband, and by extension, her. In a world where perception is everything to her brand, even a seating chart becomes a battleground. What struck me hardest was the reported shift in King Charles himself. The king, who once desperately wanted a relationship with his grandchildren, has reportedly calmed down on that front, not because his love faded, but because the surrounding drama and behavior made any meeting feel toxic. Courtiers and family members, Levin said plainly, can't stand Meghan after everything Charles has endured, his own health battles, the loss of his mother, the endless headlines. He appears to be protecting what little peace he has left. This is where the blackmail framing comes in. It's not the crude version of demanding money in a brown envelope, it's emotional and strategic leverage. The children become the price that can be offered or withheld depending on whether the palace plays ball on security, titles, invitations, or narrative control. Harry's solo UK trip becomes both a PR win for him and a reminder to the family that the full package, wife and children, remains off limits unless terms are met. The children, caught in the middle, grow up with an ever widening gap between their California life and their British heritage, I kept thinking about Prince George heading to Eton this September, the quiet continuation of royal tradition, stability, and duty. Then I compared it to Archie and Lilibet, whose lives are being shaped by this very public, very bitter standoff. One path is mapped out with centuries of precedent. The other seems to be rewritten every time a new PR opportunity or grievance arises. Levin's commentary about Harry being scared of her lingered with me long after the video ended. It painted a picture of a man who traded the constraints of palace life for a different kind of prison, one built from his wife's ambitions, their shared grievances, and the constant need to stay relevant. The prince who wrote Spare to tell his truth now seems, in this narrative, unable or unwilling to push back when that truth no longer serves the woman he married. Watching this, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Anger at the idea that two small children are being used as chess pieces in a game neither of them chose. Sadness for a king in his later years who may never have the uncomplicated relationship with his son's family that he clearly wanted. And frustration at how predictable it all feels now. The same patterns, the same leaks, the same insistence that everyone else is the problem. The interview didn't just rehash old drama, it suggested the rift has hardened into something more permanent. Reconciliation, if it was ever truly on the table, looks further away than ever. Harry will come to the UK, do his events, smile for cameras, and fly back to a life where the children he loves are reportedly being kept from the grandfather who still carries their photos. After the video ended, I sat in silence for a long moment. The royal family has survived scandals, divorces, and abdications before. But this one feels different because it involves the weaponization of the next generation. If even half of what Wootton and Levin discussed is accurate, then Meghan Markle isn't just at war with the institution. She is allegedly using her husband and their children as the front line. And Prince Harry, the man who once said he wanted to break the cycle of pain, now appears trapped in a new one of his own making. That, more than any headline, is what left me genuinely shaken.
That was today's video. Thanks for watching. Until the next video.